Welcome to the Becoming Body Smart podcast, where we unlock the secrets of sustainable health and fitness and help you master your health habits. If you're tired of quick fixes, generic blueprints, and chasing short-term results, you're in the right place. It's time to become Body Smart.
So today we wanted to talk about keeping burnout at bay. So, really common problem that burnout winds up getting many, if not most of us at some point in time, where you just feel burned out and fatigued, more mentally and emotionally with our workout, that we're just ready to be done, because we've done the same thing for too long, and maybe we stopped seeing the results that we wanted to see, or there's lots of reasons and ways that we can feel burnout with our fitness. And so we want to talk about that and what you can do to combat that. I know, when I've trained for something bigger, like a bigger event and things like that, that can often lead to some fatigue and burnout, because it's like, oh, I just don't know if I have it in me to keep going at that level that I was pushing, to keep pushing myself forward in that way. And so being able to take some steps back every now and again and make sure that I'm doing what I really intend to be doing, and make it fun and meaningful and purposeful and helping me actually make progress, that those things are all really important. And so we want to talk about how we can bust up burnout and make it so it's not a problem. So Mark is on the road again. Mark's always on the road. There's Mark again. Any thoughts about that, Mark?
Apparently. I know I am always on the road. I'm getting ready to go trick-or-treating with my son. So he is going to be Spider-Man and also a dragon. So that'll be fun.
The Spider-Man dragon. Spider-Man with dragon wings. Pretty cool. Right. I saw a sneak preview.
That's going to be great. He's super pumped. So
yeah.
So this is such a relevant context, or a relevant topic in the context of what we talk about, right? How do I become the best 85-year-old, right? How do I be the 85-year-old that can do all the things that I want to do? And sometimes when we're in the midst of changes, that can seem a long way out, right? Like that's like, oh man, 85 seems great, and I want to be able to do those things, but I'm tired today, right? Like, I don't really feel like working out, or I just want to eat cheese blizzard. And so apparently I'm giggly today. And so knowing how to watch for the signs of burnout and knowing how to keep it at bay, right? What's going to lead you to trend towards that, and what's going to kind of help you stay in the clear is super relevant, because that's one of the things that we found has been a huge challenge with people in their fitness and this is why we talk about no 30-day programs, no 6-week booty camps, right? Is because all of that is great while the well of motivation is running high, but as soon as that well of motivation runs out, burnout replaces it. And we end up just feeling exhausted, or we get injured, and we end up being really frustrated with our fitness and where our health journey is taking us. And so I think that's one of the first keys, honestly, to avoiding burnout is what timeline am I doing this thing on? Right? So I see people all the time that I got to lose this much weight by this time, or I want to pack on the muscle, or whatever it is. And if that's your goal, great. But typically those types of goals lead to burnout, because it's pushing really hard for a short period of time to reach this very specific goal, and it's not addressing things at the level of the lifestyle. And so typically it just ends up being this cycle of burnout. And honestly, the cycle of burnout closely tracks with that pain injury cycle that we've talked about before. They're kind of like side by side, right? So we run through on one side, we begin to run to the other. And so really recognizing is the way that we're working out. The question that we have people ask themselves maybe I should be approaching the way that I eat and the way that I do different things in a different way, so that I'm supporting those positive habits rather than reinforcing bad ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's taking that long-term view into account and saying, well, what am I doing to support me long term so that I'm not doing things that are going to lead toward burnout and fatigue. That long-term view. Mark, can you mute yourself? There we go. We're just getting a lot of feedback. You know, just avoiding that long-term burnout by having more of a long-term view so that we can stay on track. Often, like Mark was saying, the short-term things, because it's such a big push, we wind up burning out and stuff. But then sometimes, looking at it where it's like, am I really going to have to do this forever? That can be a big problem too. Christy mentioned in the chat that she's feeling a lack of motivation and maybe, some burnout with that, because it is tough when you have had a setback or things like that, and you feel like you have to climb back up that hill that you had just gotten up and then kind of slid back down. That can cause some burnout, and life just tends to do that to us, where we have ebbs and flows and things like that. And so taking that long-term view of like, what do I need to do to get on track and stay on track and build those habits, allows us to think a little bit differently about it, of instead of thinking I've got to push really hard, or I've got to use willpower to do it. Instead, it's like, no, I just need to build habits. And if I can build those habits, and again, we talk about this all the time, but the size of the habit doesn't matter. It's building it first, as small as need be, to make it a habit, and then letting that habit naturally grow as you become more consistent with it. And so allowing those things to kind of grow within your life and lifestyle, in the end, that's what it needs to be, as part of a long-term lifestyle. But then within that, we can still feel some burnout. It's not uncommon to feel like I'm just in a rut with my routine. It's not very motivating, and I feel like maybe it's not really as focused or geared to what I want to be able to accomplish. And so, zooming in and zooming out every so often to be able to say, is this still in line with what I want to do? Or is there a short-term goal that fits within the long-term framework that I can work toward as a way to mix it up? So, if doing a race is your thing, you could maybe do that as a short-term motivator, but then train for it with a long-term perspective in mind. Or, like I want to be able to do a certain hike or a certain thing. So like this year, we did that rim to rim to rim trip. And that really, part of that is having those big adventures in the on the horizon helps keep you motivated and gives you some purpose to your workout. So I started doing more of my runs in the morning as hikes with a pack on. And so it switched it up, so I wasn't doing the same thing. And it added a level of motivation to have something specific that I could train for, that I switched up maybe the way I was doing it, so I wasn't doing the same types of exercises and the same type of cardio training. I was able to mix it up within the same genre or the same kind of realm, but I did more with my strength training. I did more like weighted vest stuff, and things to simulate what that Grand Canyon trip would be like, and probably not as much as I should have, it turns out, because my legs were pretty tired by the end of that first day, and I had a whole nother day to go. And so, but doing those things, so having a short-term goal can be helpful, but what we often do when we have a short-term goal is kind of leave out the big picture. And so we don't want to train so hard for the short-term goal that we burn ourselves out. Those short-term goals can be helpful in maintaining that motivation when you are feeling that burnout. And if you've been training really hard for a short-term goal, because that's a thing too. I know we've had a few train for races lately, or train for some big hikes or events, or are still in the middle of training for some of those big hikes or events. And I know that that can kind of be fatiguing mentally, of like the pressure of that event coming up and kind of burn us out. And that's where it may be time to stop focusing quite as much and switch our focus to maybe some of the activities that we love to do, switching out our workouts for like, I'm going to do more just casual hikes, or I'm going to do more playing pickleball or other things like that. Still lifting and still, doing some form of cardiovascular work, but switching the emphasis of those up towards supporting the things that I want to do kind of more in the short term, while I kind of take a break from that and regain some of that motivation to train for it. So, giving ourselves those breaks and opportunities to train in different ways, um, and making our exercise specific for the new things that we want to train for, or the different things, allows us to um, give our body a break a little bit. And the changing seasons, I think, gives us a chance to switch it up and maintain some motivation. So as it gets really cold outside, maybe hiking and running outside, or biking, especially outside in the ice, is not always the most fun or most safe thing to do. And so using these season changes to say, okay, this next period, then I'm going to focus more on strength training, or I'm going to focus more on hitting the treadmill with a really steep incline, or I'm going to focus hitting the treadmill going really fast, or my bike trainer, and do some really high intensity bouts, because I can do it in a more controlled environment. So working on maybe our top end speed, or how long we can sustain a certain amount of watts on the bike, or something like that, where because we can do it in more of a controlled environment indoors, you switch up the way you're training for it. It's just a way to mix things up and not have it be quite as, same old, and quite as mundane. And so there's lots of ways to switch up your training, and really it just requires some ability to zoom out and say, where do I want to go with this? And zooming back in and say, okay, what are the tactics that I need to do? So kind of similar to our call yesterday, the tactics versus strategy. We got to make sure we're zooming out and looking at our overall strategy, so that we can zoom back in and say, what are the tactics that I need to do to get there? So I feel like that is such an overarching theme that we've hit on a lot lately in trying to train for that 85-year-old you, and being able to get there to who you want to be. That ability to zoom in and zoom out just really is so crucial as we're working with people and helping them set up their long-term plans, and thinking more in those ways. We've just found that to be so crucial. Any other thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, so I wanted to give kind of an example of burnout, from my own life, from my own training plan. So, okay, sorry, I'm just going to park real quick. So there's a couple months ago, and what I was doing is I'd kind of planned it to do a lift 4 days a week. And so it was a upper body, lower body split. And one thing that I just didn't keep in mind is, like, I don't mind the lower body stuff if it's incorporated as part of like a full day, but I've always struggled with lower body days, mostly because it's just so hard to walk afterwards. Like, you're just exhausted. Like, I saw on Cameron this morning, I did a bunch of lunges yesterday, and my legs were so sore. And so there's actually a mistake that I made in actually creating the plan, is that I didn't recognize that I would be less likely to complete that because of the way that it was split. So one, and then my workouts were approaching like 2-ish hours, right? It was just a really long time. And so what I found was happening was that I was just skipping workout after workout. And like, there ended up being one period of time where it was like 2 weeks that I didn't work out at all. And so I was like, okay, I've got to change some things around. And there's actually an adjustment at 2 different levels. So the first was I cut out a day of lifting, and then just made it 3 days a week, and so it was all total body. And then what I also did is, to save time, instead of just doing either an exercise and rest or a superset, right, to kind of opposing exercises and resting, I just did the circuit, right? So I run through all of my 8 or 9 exercises and then take a little break and start over. And so that allowed me to shrink down the time of the workouts a lot more. And for sure, are there some trade-offs in different set types and how we're approaching that? For sure. But what matters more, as we always talk about, is consistency, right? Since making the change, it's allowed me to consistently get more days of exercise in, and that has a much more powerful effect than like some of the changes that the set and rep scheme had, because I'm actually doing it, right? So that was one of the issues. And the second issue was I needed to take a look at my schedule again and the way that I was time blocking, because I just kept, one more thing, I'll do this, and then I'll work out. And so just kind of reorienting and just putting down what is important to me, right? What are kind of the big blocks that I want in my day, and working that into the schedule and having like a more clear idea of, okay, this is what's going to be happening on a day-to-day basis. At least a rough sketch during the week helps me to make sure that I was getting those sessions in too. And so sometimes the burnout comes at the level of just like the workouts, right? Maybe we need some variety, we need to change it up. Maybe we include some more of the activities that we love. But sometimes it's just the way that we're managing stress or the way that we're managing time and energy we need a deeper dive in, and that's actually leading to the burnout, right? And so we might be able to do the same or similar workouts, but we just need to adjust like how we're putting that in our day and how we're making sure that we have energy. And so with that idea in mind, right, managing our energy comes back to the 5 patterns that we talk about all the time, right? When you're starting to feel burnt out, that's a great time to ask yourself those questions, right? Just kind of a quick 5-question questionnaire. What's my sleep like? What's my exercise like? And then what's my activity the rest of the day if I am exercising? What is my eating pattern like? Am I fueling in a way that's going to keep me feeling good for exercise, for activity, and for recovery? How am I managing stress? And then what am I doing to increase my happiness, to be grateful for what I have? And then a 6th one that we often add in is like, am I making time for social connection? And I definitely took a lot of time to say each of those 5. That wasn't as quick as it sounded, but just asking ourselves a few of those different questions can help us to just key in on maybe some areas that could use some tweaking, that are pulling energy away from us, right? And so I think that's a big sign, and also learning to recognize what are the signs of burnout in you, right? For me, I know it's like I have a hard time making decisions. I'm sleepy. Motivation is super low, right? I don't really want to do this today, or I don't want to do that today. And so recognizing those in yourself and then taking time to troubleshoot, right? Run through that cycle when you're at a yellow instead of when you're like redlining it. And so I think both of those are keys, right? Checking in with those different patterns, and then also learning to recognize your own signs of beginning to feel burnt out, because that's going to be a little bit different for everyone, right? We all manage stress, we all manage fatigue in different ways. But the thing about fatigue is that like our body doesn't necessarily differentiate between what's causing the fatigue, right? Like maybe it's mental stress, maybe it's emotional stress, maybe it's physical stress, right? Maybe it's a combination of those different things. But unless we ask ourselves those questions and check in with it, then we tend to just feel this kind of like overarching blah feeling, and it doesn't allow us to develop a specific action plan. And so being able to pull that apart into those components and figure out like what is it that's kind of driving this, or that seems to be driving this, and how can I adjust that dial in small sustainable ways, and see if I can work myself out of this. And sometimes like you just need a break. For me, those two weeks of a break from lifting ended up being really nice. They helped me just kind of reset and then figure out what I wanted to do. And so I guess that's one more element too, is one of the things that helps with avoiding burnout is having a flexible plan in place. Instead of just pushing through and I've got to get this workout in and I've got to do it on this schedule and on this timeline, just being okay with being flexible and changing it, and recognizing that, again, like, yes, maybe you don't stay exactly on track, but if you're at least able to stay consistent with doing something and keep that habit in place, that's going to serve you so much more in the long run than trying to push through the burnout and fatigue.
100%, Mark.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, 100%, Mark. I think that is one of the questions I always ask myself, or one of the things I always say is, if you're not having fun, something's wrong and you need to change it up. And so if you're dreading your workouts, if you're not enjoying it and you're dreading them, then definitely change it up, because you will burn out eventually. Even if you're being consistent and relying on willpower to be consistent, which is great, eventually you will burn out. And so if you're feeling like you're waking up and dreading your workouts instead of being excited for it, and not every day are we going to be like, yeah, let's go, it's not always going to be all excitement. But if you're dreading your workouts, if you're not having fun with them occasionally, and you can't see that connection between your workouts and your life and what it's allowing you to be able to do, then switch it up. Then that's a great sign that you need to make a change. And like Mark said, ask yourself those questions. And if you need help or guidance there, ask us. Like, what can I do to switch it up? Here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'd like to be able to do. And, kind of where I'm at, like, let's restructure. We can assign different workouts to you. We can, point you in the right direction of some other activities or some other things that you can do to help you stay on track and be successful. But don't just suffer in silence. Don't just be, what's the word? Struggling and suffering in a way that's like not really leading toward you being able to be consistent. That's going to frustrate the consistency, because like Mark alluded to earlier, that's going to be more important than any tactic that we use, is just the consistency of it. So, we always want to be as effective as possible and use our time well, but sometimes the most effective thing is doing something instead of doing nothing at all. And so, it don't feel like it has to be an all or nothing thing, that you have to stick exactly to the plan. If you're not feeling it that day, but you are feeling just a walk around the block or going to play basketball with your kids or a group of friends or pickleball or whatever it is, it's okay to switch out your workout with something that you really enjoy doing for a day, because that's going to help maintain that motivation and help maintain that drive and that avoidance of burnout. And so it's okay to let it be flexible and let it be, give yourself that grace to say, well, something is better than nothing, and I still moved today, still got my steps in, or whatever it is. I just did it in a different way than I normally would, but it doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. And if I do that today and it allows me to be more motivated to go hit it again tomorrow, perfect. Because again, in the long run, that's going to serve us much better. So that long-term thinking is always the key in just about everything in life. Enjoy the now and be present in the now, so that you can enjoy your workouts and love it and not feel the pressure of the goal you're trying to get to, while still zooming out every so often long enough to think long term and set up the plan so that it is enjoyable, so that it is something that is fulfilling you because you're getting the results that you're looking for and stuff like that. And so when we see those results, that can be a big motivator too. When we are doing things that are pointed and directed towards the activities that we love, that can be a big motivator. When we see ourselves make progress the next time out. I just had a run the other day that I was like, all right, that was good. That was a lot faster than previous, runs on the same course. I was able to go up into a higher heart rate zone for just a little while, and my heart rate came back down well, and I was just really excited about it. It's interesting how that was a motivator to want to get out the next day and do it again, when I was feeling like, oh, the weather's changing, it's getting colder, I've got to put more layers on, and so that those little wins can be a big motivator as well. So,
One
other
thing
thoughts
that
about how this?
Yeah, one thing I'd add real quick is also being able to differentiate between like being burnt out and
We lost you, Mark. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, say it again.
So I think also just being able to differentiate between like I'm truly feeling burnt out and like I don't feel like doing the thing, right? So an example is this morning I had my alarm set for 6:30 and I like left my window open a little bit too much and it was freezing. It was freezing in the bedroom. And so I was like, oh, what if I just went back to sleep, right? What if I just like pulled this blanket over my head, made a cocoon of warmth, and just didn't get up right now?
Uh-oh.
That's real quick and then. Okay, can you still hear me? Oh.
No. Well, you're breaking up pretty bad.
Okay.
On my end, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what matters for the recording. Can you hear me yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think just things that can help with that, like I'm just not feeling it as much today. And then again, like Cameron said, it's okay to just to do something else, right? Maybe I go for a walk around the block today. But also, are there things that we can do to like set up the set up our environment so that it deals with some of those things that we know to be an issue, right? Can I have like a robe or a Snuggie or something like that by the bed? Can I have a heater nearby? Do I set an alarm out in the kitchen that's going to wake other people up, right? What are ways that we can use our environment to support us in those areas that we tend to that tend to make us want to not do the thing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely to use those things to our advantage so we can stay motivated and keep on track and all of that. Use all the tools at your all the tools and resources that are available to you. That's really important. And people. We can often use different people to help us stay motivated and on track and things like that. So finding a friend that can help you, that you can work with and keep that motivation going. So lots of tips, lots of ways to stay motivated when you're feeling burnt out and get back on track. Because if we're relying just on motivation, we're definitely going to struggle. So anyway, thanks so much for hopping on with us on this Halloween evening. I hope all of you are able to go out and have some fun and stay safe and wake up tomorrow morning with minimal sugar coma and be able to really enjoy your workout tomorrow and keep away from burnout and fatigue and keep enjoying this upcoming holiday season. So it has begun now. The holiday season has officially begun, starting with Halloween. This is the season of weight gain. So the average American gains between 6 and 8 pounds from October 31st to January 1st. So let's all keep working out and do our best to stay fit and healthy and make good choices. Maybe we can defy the odds a little bit and still enjoy the good food, because that's one of the most fun parts of the season. Let's just try to do it in a sensible way that doesn't pile on that feeling of burnout and fatigue because we just sabotaged ourselves with our food. So keep enjoying it and just do that in a way that keeps you going. All right, thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you on our next call on Thursday. It'll be November, which is kind of crazy to think about, but we're already that far along. All right, thanks so much, and we'll catch you then.
Thanks for listening to the Becoming Body Smart podcast. If you have questions, thoughts, or want to continue the conversation, reach out to us on our socials or join our community. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring you even more valuable content. Remember, sustainable health is a lifelong journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Live longer, live stronger, and become Body Smart.